Star Trek had a great 2024, even if it doesn't seem that way. It may not immediately seem that way, but Star Trek actually had a great 2024. Between Paramount Plus and Netflix, Star Trek spanned 2 streaming services in 2024, with 3 series delivering a total of 40 episodes. Star Trek Discovery Season 5 was the franchise's only live-action outing, offering 10-hour-long episodes and an extended series finale. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 dropped 20 half-hour episodes on Netflix, the most Star Trek ever in one day. Finally, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 closed out the year with its final 10 half-hour episodes on Paramount+. 2024 isn't regarded as prolific a year as 2022 and 2023 were for Star Trek. In 2022, all 5 Paramount Plus Star Trek series dropped a new episode nearly every Thursday of the calendar year. 2023 kicked off with the blockbuster Star Trek Picard Season 3, galvanizing fans old and new by reuniting the cast of Star Trek The Next Generation aboard the USS Enterprise D. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 made history with Star Trek's first ever musical and a comedy crossover with Star Trek Lower Decks, which later delivered a stellar Season 4. 2024, however, was a series of highs for Star Trek. Star Trek had 3 shows in 2024 and all of them were great. Despite the dark cloud that Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Lower Decks held their final seasons on Paramount+, and Netflix has made no noise about renewing Star Trek Prodigy, all 3 series delivered the highest quality Star Trek, and some episodes were among the best Star Trek audiences have ever seen. Star Trek Discovery Season 5 was an energetic romp through the 32nd century galaxy, tying into Star Trek The Next Generation, the Mirror Universe, and closing out with a powerful and emotional denouement for Captain Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, and the USS Discovery. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 was 20 half-hours of vaulting ambition, featuring several 2-part episodes, and the return of Star Trek The Next Generation's Wesley Crusher, Wil Wheaton. Prodigy Season 2 was a truly cosmic and epic journey that touched upon the breadth of Star Trek's history and franchise, culminating in a powerful full-circle conclusion and literal relaunch for the heroic young crew of the USS Protostar. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 also made Star Trek Voyager fans' dreams come true by reuniting Admiral Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and Captain Chakotay, Robert Beltran. Star Trek Lower Decks knew going into Season 5 that it would be the animated comedy's final season on Paramount+, and they never considered resting on their laurels. Star Trek Lower Decks also went big by throwing the USS Cerritos into Star Trek's multiverse of timelines, going places the series hadn't before. Smashing all expectations, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 warped into its finale with the biggest crossover of Star Trek legacy characters ever, and closed out with a satisfyingly poignant ending, setting up the Cerritos' next chapter. Star Trek's animated series proved why they should continue. Perhaps the biggest tragedy of Star Trek's 2024 is that it marks the current all-stop of Star Trek's animation renaissance. Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Lower Decks have made animated Trek essential, taking full advantage of the few limits animation offers. Jaw-dropping Star Trek legacy guest stars like Wil Wheaton's Wesley Crusher, Robert Picardo's The Doctor, Brent Spiner's Data, Jolene Blalock's T'Pol, and Alfred Woodard's Lily Sloan returned in Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Lower Decks. In Star Trek animation, the impossible became very possible. At first glance, 2024 might not appear to be the banner year for Star Trek that fans anticipated. For many, it may feel like the franchise has plateaued, or even declined compared to the early enthusiasm surrounding Star Trek Discovery's debut in 2017, or the ambitious rollout of multiple Star Trek series on Paramount Plus in the years following. Yet when you look past the surface, 2024 was actually a pivotal year for Star Trek, with significant achievements, subtle wins, and important groundwork laid for the future of the beloved franchise. Expanding the universe in bold new directions. While 2024 didn't see a new Star Trek show debut, it did continue to expand the universe in meaningful ways, especially through established series that took narrative risks and pushed boundaries. Star Trek Strange New Worlds led the charge, offering a second season that, by all accounts, solidified its place as a fan favorite. The series managed to strike a balance between episodic adventures reminiscent of the original series and long-term character development. In a streaming landscape dominated by serialized storytelling, Strange New World's episodic nature felt refreshing, especially as it carved out space for stories that were fun, experimental, and even romantic, as seen with the fan-loved episode Subspace Rhapsody, a full musical. The series also deepened its engagement with serious themes such as identity, belonging, and moral ambiguity, while also bringing levity and optimism back to the Star Trek fold. Anson Mount's portrayal of Captain Pike continues to be a highlight, as his character grapples with the foreknowledge of his tragic fate. Meanwhile, the ensemble cast, including Ethan Peck's Spock and Christina Chong's Lan Noonien Singh, continued to deliver standout performances, broadening the emotional palette of the show. Elsewhere, Star Trek: Lower Decks remained a surprise success. What initially seemed like a niche animated comedy has become an integral part of the franchise, blending humor with surprisingly profound storytelling. In 2024, the show tackled episodes that delved into the absurdity of Starfleet life, but also delivered stories with real emotional stakes and character growth, reaffirming its unique position in Star Trek canon. Legacy and fan engagement. Another aspect of 2024 that stands out is the way Star Trek leaned into its legacy. While some fans expressed fatigue over the reliance on nostalgia in previous years, particularly during the run of Star Trek, Picard 2024 managed to strike a balance between honoring the past and building toward the future. The return of legacy characters, such as Seven of Nine, played by Jerry Ryan, proved to be a bridge between old and new fans. Seven's arc as captain of the USS Titan has garnered praise for presenting a powerful, yet flawed leader, a reflection of Star Trek's enduring commitment to diversity and representation. Moreover, the franchise's embrace of its own history felt less like a crutch and more like an organic part of its storytelling DNA. The Star Trek fan community also flourished in 2024. Major conventions like Star Trek Las Vegas saw increased attendance, buoyed by passionate panels, celebrity guest appearances, and lively discussions about the future of the franchise. Paramount Plus digital engagement initiatives, such as interactive online experiences and watch parties, helped keep fans connected and fostered a strong sense of community even in an age where in-person gatherings were limited. Moving beyond the screen, one of the most exciting developments for Star Trek in 2024 was its growth beyond television. While the franchise has always been multimedia in nature, this year marked a resurgence of Star Trek in video games, books, and comics, with stories that both expanded the universe and appealed to new audiences. The long-anticipated release of Star Trek: Resurgence, a narrative-driven video game, was met with enthusiasm from fans eager to experience new stories in the Star Trek universe. The game's branching storylines and moral choices harken back to the philosophical roots of the franchise, while allowing players to explore deep space in an interactive format. Additionally, Star Trek novels continue to thrive, with 2024 delivering some of the most well-received titles in recent years, many of which explored uncharted parts of the Star Trek timeline. Comics, too, saw a renaissance in 2024 with major crossover events and bold new series. These stories allowed creators to play with the franchise's mythology in ways that TV series could not, offering alternative realities and what-if scenarios that both honored the franchise's lore and challenged its boundaries. A foundation for the future. Perhaps the most important element of Star Trek's success in 2024 is that it quietly laid the foundation for what's to come. While the franchise didn't rely on flashy announcements or blockbuster debuts, it instead focused on fortifying its existing properties and expanding its fanbase in incremental ways. The seeds.